6 minutes after 11 is the time. We move on now to a madness, a form of madness. I'm going to read you something from the front page of the Daily Mail, which has gone absolutely tonto now. I mean, it is... I mean, I can't be bothered, frankly, but I wish somebody would put together the front pages that they've done over the last 6 years with the 4 different prime ministers. I presume they were tooting their little horn for David Cameron at one point, weren't they? Insisting that he must win and not Ed Miliband, the man. How did they describe Ed Miliband's dad? The man who hated England or something like that? So the fanfare with which every Conservative prime minister is greeted by the newspaper, which conveniently ignores the fact that the last person that they gave an enormous fanfare to has been hounded out of office either in disgrace, like Boris Johnson, or in disarray, like Theresa May, or in disgust, like David Cameron. It's quite incredible. But here you go. This is actually on the front page of the country's best-selling newspaper. How the left-wing Twitterati crowed as the heavens opened just before Liz Truss arrived in Downing Street for her big speech. Then, in a moment loaded with cheering symbolism, the skies cleared and our new PM declared, together we can ride out the storm. I don't know how long I'm going to have to do this for, but they've just nicked Joe Lycett's joke. Again, haven't they? They've ripped off Joe Lycett. That is exactly the front page that Joe Lycett would have written while pretending to be a, quote, very right-wing, end quote, idiot. How the left-wing Twitterati... Do these people do anything except follow the Twitter accounts of people they profess to despise? It must be such a sorry existence. What are you doing at work today? I'm following James O'Brien and Owen Jones on Twitter to find out what it is that they've got to say about the weather. You're doing what? I'm following James O'Brien and Owen Jones on Twitter to find out what they've got to say about the weather. How the left-wing Twitterati crowed as the heavens opened just before Liz Truss arrived in Downing Street for her big speech. Then, in a moment loaded with cheering symbolism, the skies cleared and our new PM declared, together we can ride out the storm. Oh boy, it'd be funny if we didn't have to live here, wouldn't it? That's absolutely incredible. Who are you picking a fight with today, lads? People on Twitter who are laughing about the fact that it's raining and Liz Truss has got to give a speech in a minute. It stopped raining. Hallelujah, that'll teach them. It's like the most bizarre fight between people who aren't fighting and people on the other side who are like the lion in the woods. Put 'em up, come on, put 'em up, put 'em up. That's what they're like. They're like the cowardly lion. No one's fighting you. It would have been quite funny if a Prime Minister was delivering a speech in the pouring rain. It was quite funny that they had to put a bin bag on the podium. It was just funny. It's a left-wing Twitterati crow. These people are going to give themselves an embolism if they're not careful. But it did attract my attention because a Daily Mail quotes journalist, end quotes, decided to, or attempted to, pick up something I was doing on Twitter last night, and it didn't go well for him. I think it's fair to say. He's one of the ones that spends his entire life writing bilge about how dreadful Meghan Markle is, but, you know, it's a living. And this idea of why they all hate Twitter so much is not something I've turned my attention to before. I told you they ran a news story when Elon Musk announced that he was going to buy Twitter. They ran a news story counting how many followers people like me had. And they actually ran a news story saying, O'Brien lost 200 followers yesterday. It was frankly bizarre. And then they had lots of right-wing people and a few racists, I think, thrown in there as well, who for some reason saw their follower numbers go up when Elon Musk announced he was going to buy Twitter. That was why are they so obsessed with Twitter? I know the answer to that question. And it only came to me last night when I was watching what happens to a Daily Mail journalist when they try to pick a fight with someone who's got a massive platform that hasn't been paid for by a non-dom billionaire. They hate Twitter, these people, because it actually gives a huge platform to people who can speak truth to power. They can't get their head around it. Imagine if you spent your day doing the bidding of Viscount Rothermere and Paul Dacre while calling yourself a journalist, and you go on Twitter and you find some no-mark with a radio show who's got 1 million followers. They've got more followers on Twitter than these newspapers have readers. It drives them absolutely potty because they can see the writing on the wall. That's why they were so delighted when Elon Musk announced he was going to buy Twitter, because they think he's right-wing and they thought he might somehow be able to close down all these people actually telling the truth about stuff and potentially undermining the gaslighting that they do on a daily basis. So it only came to me yesterday why they're so obsessed with Twitter. It was the weirdest thing that's ever happened to me in a newspaper. I have to be honest with you. I didn't believe it when a mate messaged me to tell me, have you seen this? I said, oh, shut up. He said, no, seriously, they're writing a news article about the fact that you've lost Twitter followers. So a couple of hundred, despite having, at the time, I don't know, 900 and odd thousand. I'm over 1 million now, you'll be delighted to learn. That should be front page news, right? If me losing 200 Twitter followers is worthy of a news story in the Daily Mail, me hitting 1 million should be on the front page. O'Brien hits 1 million, a nation rejoices, or something like that. I don't know. But that's why they're so obsessed with it, and I'm so sorry that it took me so long to work it out. I really am. Oh, someone's done the front. No, that's the Express, not the Mail. Only Cameron can save Britain. Vote May or we face disaster. Down but not out. Why we must put faith in Boris. Put faith in Truss to deliver for Britain. You couldn't make it up. That's the Express, which is like the kind of dweeby little brother of the Daily Mail. And it took, I apologising, wasn't I? I don't do it very often, so I'll do it again with feeling. I am so sorry that it took me so long to work out why they are so obsessed with the Twitter accounts in particular of people who disagree with them. It's because it's a platform. They're fine if you're writing for The Guardian, nobody reads it. We're pretty much frightened the BBC into acquiescence now. People like Mateless have to leave the BBC in order to tell the truth about simple stories or to call liars liars. We've got them on the run, but we can't do anything about Twitter. We've set up some television stations now where various sort of misfits and rejects from proper outlets can all have their own shows to talk about how wonderful Boris Johnson is or what a great bloke Nigel Farage is. We've got our own TV stations now, but we can't do anything about Twitter. Blooming Twitter. Millions of people on it, just making us look stupid by telling the truth about stuff that we lie about every day. That's why they hate Twitter. Oh, glad I finally worked it out.